All right. It's our 38th lesson, and we're taking sometimes 2 or 3 times the classes to get through each lesson. So it's taken a while to get through it. When the aorist passive participle. Now, we've already dealt with some other participles before this, but the aorist tense and the future tense both have different forms in the passive and the middle voice. All the other tenses have the same form in the middle and passive voice. Okay, so we would have a different form for the middle passive aorist middle participle. These are syncopated stems. We'll explain that in just a minute. It's explained down here just a bit. And let's look at John 6:45. Phaso akusos para tu patros kai mathon erkatai pros emi. And everyone who hears, literally all the ones, everyone hearing, because it's a participle, everyone hearing, from the Father, he and learns, and learning comes to me. Everyone hearing from the Father, from the side of the Father, and learning or making himself a disciple comes to me, toward me. And me is emphatic. And me, that form is emphatic. Any questions there? So we have a couple of participles here and here. Right? The aorist passive participle, the aorist is the only tense that is developed as passive participle different from the middle. I just mentioned that a moment ago. And so we have the verbs, however, it's aorist and future verbs. But this is just participles, okay? So what we have then is the aorist tense that has a different form in the middle and passive. The aorist passive participle is made from the aorist passive stem. Back to the principal parts section. I don't know what lesson that was, but you can go back to the beginning and find it. It's the 6th principal part with the 10th sign of theta iota, theta epsilon, I'm sorry, plus the participular stem, nu and tau, or thint. That becomes thint. The theta epsilon and then the nu and tau, thint. The declension is similar to other participles except in the nominative. And the nominative is different. Rest of them follow this form. So notice we have this 10th sign, they. That's what we have right here. We have it here, we have it here. And if you look at all of them, they'll have that as the 3rd and 4th letters in the form. And so we have A, and then the nu, tau, omicron, sigma. And that's your genitive and the ablative. And that's your dative. And there's your they again. I'll highlight it again. There it is. And you can see it all the way down and all the way over in the other forms. And so this will be your ending right here for your ablative form. And nu, tau, omicron, sigma. That'll be genitive ablative form. And we'll have a dative instrumental locative form. It's trying to correct me, give me spellings here because it doesn't recognize these words. And then nu, tau, iota. That's your endings. All right. Now your vocative and your and your nominative are the same. They're the same. And then your feminine has the different forms. That's theta, iota, epsilon again. And the iota, sigma, nu, eta, sigma. So it has those two right there for genitive, ablative, dative, instrumental, locative, accusative, and vocative. Is the same as the nominative. The neuter, if you'll notice here, it follows the general form. The nominative and the accusative are the same. In this case, the vocative is as well. So in that participle, you can't tell the difference between the nominative and the accusative and the vocative participle because they're the same. Context will have to tell you which it is. Now notice we have the same endings for the genitive, ablative. We have in the masculine. This is your masculine column, feminine column, and your neuter column. So this is the same as the genitive, ablative over here. Dative, instrumental, locative are all the same here. Your accusative, because the neuter, the nominative, and accusative neuter are the same. Okay. Any questions? Let's follow through the same procedure over here. Epsilon, theta, epsilon. And theta, epsilon. And then nu, tau, epsilon, sigma. That's your feminine form, nominative, singular feminine, nominative, plural feminine, I'm sorry. Your genitive and the ablative are the same. And then your dative, instrumental, locative are all the same. That's a movable neuter, may or may not be there. The next word begins with a vowel, it'll be there. If it's not, it won't. Okay. And that lu, theta, this is for luo. There's your stem, lu, lu, lambda, epsilon. And that's your stem, and then your theta, epsilon. And you have this ending right here. Okay. Any questions? We'll skip the feminine, go over the neuter, and we'll come back to feminine in just a minute. Notice your genitive and ablative are the same in the plural for the masculine and neuter. Your feminine is different form, and your dative, instrumental, locative are the same form in the masculine and neuter. But the neuter, nominative, and accusative are the same, which they're not. Nominative and accusative are not the same with the masculine and feminine. And that follows through with verb, verbs, and participle both. And of course, most of the time your nominative and vocative are the same. This is your vocative across here. Now your feminine has a little bit different form. It'll fool you sometimes. The psi ending makes you think it's an infinitive, and but it's not. That's a participle. And there's your stem, lu. You got the lu stem. And let it go a moment. Theta, epsilon, which is your tenth sign. Right up here, that's your tenth sign. And then the ending for the nominative, plural ending for the participle, for the passive participle. Right? Aorist passive. That's the first aorist. Remember, there's a first and second aorist. Right? So these are all your forms for the feminine. And it looks a whole lot like the last two letters are the same for the masculine and feminine and neuter, but the letters before it, these two, all the sigma are different. Okay. And so we got an iota sigma again, and eyes. That will be dative, instrumental, locative. And then the sauce, and that, of course, that's the same as the nominative. I'm sorry, it is for the neuter, but not for the feminine. So it size, sauce. So it becomes sauce, and that's the accusative. And your nominative and vocative are the same in this case. Are there questions? Has James popped in yet?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, well, you're not doing any translating tonight, probably, but I just thought of that, call attention to it. Any questions from any of this? The second passive form, and it doesn't have the theta in it in the tense sign. It doesn't have theta. So what it'll have, and we look at it, it's using all the structural participles that have already been learned, such as articular, circumstantial, and supplemental. So the meaning of it, the uses of it, we've already covered all those uses. Okay. All right. So the aorist passive participle, here's grapho, and the second aorist graphes, and graph asa, graphen. Right. So this is the aorist passive participle. And this graph A was feminine, so the ending it'll be ice right there. And so this will be your ending without the theta. So I'll highlight the ending. You drop the theta off, that's the ending you get for the nominative singular feminine. And graph A, the noun form of this grapho verb is a feminine. So in the feminine form of it, the participle, and it would take this verb, and the feminine form of it could be masculine, feminine, or neuter, depending on what it's referring to. But the feminine form, you still have the eotus, that form. And I'll go back and highlight it up here. It's that form right here. I highlight it again. That's the same as we had down here. All right. Is that clear to everybody? And the graph ice, and your ice ending, that's your masculine. There's your masculine singular ending. Drop the theta off, and drop the theta, and so it'll be graph ice. Right, so you get ice. And graph is that's your stem. Just drop the omega off, and you'll have the stem graph, comma, rho, alpha, p. Okay. And so that's your masculine ending. Right there. There's your feminine ending right there. That'll be the same as up here, masculine's over here. And then your neuter ending. That'll be singular, nominative singular. That's up here, that's your last two letters up there. That's how that works. All they do is just drop the theta off, you'll have the same forms. Okay, does that help? Second aorist. Right. And then go back to section 203 and 6 more about the second aorist. There's no difference between the second and first aorist. It's just the form and the interpretation of it, and the meaning of it's the same. All aorists have the same basic meaning. Okay. Now the aorist passive participle are used in all the constructions of the participles that have already been learned, such as articular, circumstantial, supplemental participles, and so forth. The passive deponents, we've already argued that they discarded the idea of deponents. I believe that the so-called deponents, everyone that I've looked at, and I've looked at a bunch of them and studied it out one time, I'm convinced that they were dead wrong to call it deponent. I'm satisfied that the deponent is just it's just middle voice, and they're active, and they're middle voices. I answer. That will be a middle voice form, and so right here, that's passive right here in form, I guess. But we've talked about the middle earlier. We'll go back and discuss it in more great detail. The one answering, okay, and right here, Jesus answering said. And this is nominative, and nominative singular, and there's your subject, nominative, article, and nominative. Jesus is nominative. So Jesus is the subject, and it's out of order normally. Normally you put the subject first and then the verb, but Greek can do it anyway, and when it goes out of the norm, it's emphatic. Right. So Jesus answering said, he replied to them. Okay. Any questions? Any further questions? Right. The participle can be in indirect discourse. Jacob said, there is grain in Egypt. They don't have Jacob in this discourse down here, but that's what was said as a reference to it. Jacob said that, and that's indirect discourse, kind of quoting him, indirect. And Yaku, Yakubu, Ekuse, Onta, Sitia, Ais, Agupton. And so Jacob heard that there was being grain, that's grain, in Egypt. Jacob was hearing, Jacob heard. That's the statement, indirect discourse. That's what Jacob heard. We might give an account of what he heard. So, participle can be used in indirect discourse, and they frequently are. And of course, and this is your participle, okay? Right here, there's your participle. And there is grain in Egypt. That's not a participle. It's not participle here. Jacob was hearing, Jacob heard, was hearing that there was being grain, and this there's your grain in Egypt. Now the King James probably translates corn, but in England the word corn is a grain, is a crop that is grain. Now corn would be, in England, would be any crop like wheat, barley, rye, and I'm not sure probably would count oats, but sweet barley and rye definitely would. Millet probably would be counted that way. And what we know as field corn in the United States, that would also function. Okay? It's a grain, a crop that is grain. So Jacob heard there was grain in Egypt. And the grain he's talking about was probably wheat. Right? Verbs of saying or perception, hearing, seeing, knowing, may be followed by indirect discourse by participle or participle construction. Verb of a direct statement is put in the accusative case of the participle of the subject is also put in the accusative general reference. Right. So the verb is put, the direct statement is put in the accusative case. And then it becomes the subject of, the subject is also put in the accusative. So it becomes the subject of that infinitive, or that participle, either one. Right. Yeah.
Question.
Yes.
I didn't remember what CETIA means.
What? CETIA is grain.
Grain. Oh, okay. I got
And it's probably translated wheat most of the time, but it's a grain, it's a crop. Okay. All right, any more questions? All right. Akuo ta ema tegnon in aletheia, peripatunta, peripatunta. Right. Akuo is I hear, and the things of me, of my children in truth. I hear the things of my children. That's the accusative case. What I'm hearing is that my children are in truth, are walking in the truth. And the word "they" is implied, I guess, because it will be definite with a preposition generally. Direct statement would be my children are walking in the truth. But see, I hear this. That's a way, a roundabout way of saying it. I hear the things that my children, the of me, and I'm trying to translate it as a genitive case, and I'm just not having a hard time translating it. I hear that my children, right, and the word "my" comes from "ema." The children of me are walking in truth. Okay. Right. Okay. Any comments there? My children are walking in the truth is a direct statement. Okay, this is an indirect statement up here. They could be followed by OT plus a finite verb or an infinitive. And of course, what you get into, the subject of an infinitive is in the accusative case. Here's accusative case right here. All three of these are accusative case. That's what he's talking about. Any questions? Remember, let's go back and review quickly. If we have a finite verb, the subject of finite verb is in what case? Help me out here. I'll keep forgetting. I need to be reminded.
Nominative.
It's a nominative case. And the subject of how do you get the direct object doing something in a complex sentence? Direct object would be in what case?
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
What case was it? How do you get the direct object doing something? What case is the direct object? Accusative. So how would you have it doing something, the direct object, making a complex sentence?
Use of the infinitive?
Use an infinitive. Or you could use a participle in the accusative case. See, either one. And now you can use genitive case, do it in the genitive that we just covered in the last lesson. All right. Any questions? We've covered that. That's participle in the genitive case. Now we have three words that are very common in the New Testament. They're syncopated nouns. These are nouns: aner, and pater, and mater. And so aner, pater, mater. That will be man, father, and mother. Okay. And notice that eta row ending on them, all three of them end in eta row. Right. Syncopated, that's they're going to make a sound that sounds like it's almost melodious. Okay. And it's called because the stem varies between an epsilon in the nominative and accusative case and a lack of in the other cases. Right. Okay. Now, we see the epsilon down here in the plural, right? Nominative. And we have an eta up here, and so that there's some rules that turn that into an eta. Okay, so right here, pater and patros, patros, patri, 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 patera, use it pater. And notice here now, pater and vocative, pater, pater, are different. In this case here, the vocative has its own special form. So you would have a special way of addressing your father. You wouldn't use pater, the nominative form. You'd probably use pater if you're addressing him, pater. So it has a separate form. And of course, you can have plurals of them down here, the plurals down here below. Let's go across to the singular, mater and matros, and the tros ending, or the ros ending, actually what we got. There's your stem right there. So get it, those first. And so that's your stem. We have it all the way down. And right here is your stem. The first three letters are your stem. So sorry. I didn't jump. Those are your stem, all the way down. So your ending would be os, ros, re, ra, and air, her. Okay. Now, mater, notice it has a separate ending for the vocative and the nominative. They're different. Some words have their own special form. Words, that'd be something that you would, where you're addressing somebody, and that someone that you ought to show respect for them. And that would be a mother and father, and even the man has its own separate ending vocative. Right. Any questions? So we still got our form. First three letters are your stem. It jumped on me. There's your stem. And it fits all of these down here, down to the vocative. Cat, stem, carries, or your nominative and vocative have different forms. All right, any questions? Father, mother, and man are used quite a lot in the New Testament. Now, aner is a man, not a boy. So it's a man, not a boy. It could be a different word for a boy. And as your plural forms, and there the first three letters are your stem, and that's your nominative. And there's your stem. It moved on me. Yeah. Here, first three letters are stem, and there's the last four are the ending for nominative, for genitive, and the ablative, and patra, rossi, and first three are your stem, and then there's your ending for your native instrument locative, plural. There and there and there, and the accusative has a different ending than the nominative, and there's your ending for your accusative, and then the vocative in this case is different. The vocative plural, because you normally you don't have a plurality of fathers to address. Okay? Now, you may be preaching to a bunch of men who are fathers, but they're not your father. You're not addressing them. So it's the same as the vocative and nominative, or plural are the same. Same thing with your plural on your on mater, mother, and there's your stem, and the first three letters are. The rest of them are the endings. There's your nominative ending, genitive, ablative, dative, interrogative, accusative, and then your vocative is the same as your nominative, vocative plural. Andres, and that's nominative plural. And there's your stem. And then the last three are your endings for your genitive, ablative, and the last four are your endings for your dative, interrogative. The last three are for the accusative. And Andres, that's a not vocative plural. Okay. Neuter. Any question? No. There are no questions. All right. I'm going to get back into, I'm going to look at my notes again. All right. All right. Are there any questions? Let's look at our vocabulary. And we're on there, Andros, ho. This is nominative form, genitive singular, gender singular, and the article. It tells you all you need to know about how to conjugate it, or how to decline it. It's a noun. Oxios, what part of speech is oxios? You can tell by these endings here. So what I've got highlighted, what is that?
Masculine.
That's masculine, singular of what? What kind of part of speech is it?
Be a noun.
No, it's an adjective.
Adjective.
And so it's an adjective. There's your nominative singular ending. Then drop the os and put ya, and that will be feminine. And the on will be neuter. Drop the os and the os and put the on and have neuter singular. Masculine. Neuter singular nominative. Nominative singular neuter. And this is a nominative singular masculine. And that ya ending, os, get rid of os, the last two letters, put the ya, and you'll have nominative singular feminine, worthy, right? Something that's been measured out and found to be what it should be, it's worthy. Gonu is the me, and that's a noun. And there's your genitive form, singular form, and there's your article, it's feminine, it's neuter. Right? And after tithemy, and so this word could go after tithemy to place the knee, and compto is to kneel on your knees, okay? So, okay. Any question?
You know, what does that mean after tithemy? You have to use tithemy before that word, and then it means to kneel, basically?
Yeah, it means to kneel. All right. Ecthros is hate. And of course, this is, because it's got a masculine and feminine and neuter form, it's an adjective, of course. So, odious, it's hateful. The word ecthros can be, and it can be used as a noun in this case, Hoechthros is the enemy, the hated one, the odious one. Okay, so it can function like a noun. An adjective can do that sometimes. Thais is aorist participle of tithemi, so it's a me verb. Right? And so you'll have it somewhere down here in your lesson. Okay. Now, if you check these out, these are right out of scripture, pretty much. So you won't have too much trouble finding them. Okay.
Is that the passive participle? Aorist passive?
Yes, aorist participle.
Yeah, but is it passive or middle? I assume passive.
It's passive.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And I need to fix that. I'll insert that in there, what it is, but it's middle passive and all that. Okay, I'll do that later after we close classes tonight. To guard, to gater, garteros. And this is daughter, masculine. Nominative, singular. Feminine, of course, daughter is feminine. And tegartos is genitive, ablative, singular, feminine. So the word daughter, and then there's your article tells you it's a feminine noun. And it could be vocative form. It has its own vocative form right here, is what he's telling you there. All right, that he added that to the form. Now you just take it like you have up here and work it out, okay? And you can figure out, take your stem and your stem would be up until you get to the ta. Let me highlight the stem. There you go. Okay, I think the ta gets in there. All right. Now, oikeo, this is kata and oikeo. So it's the preposition kata and oikeo. Oikeo is to dwell. And this is to settle down and dwell. Now he settled down and dwell there, or he lived there. That's how we'd say it in English. He settled in a place. We use that term. Mater, matros, hey, my mother. And we've already had it up here, Latin mater, alma mater. And it's your virgin mother is what that is. Alma is virgin in Hebrew. I suspect it come over into Latin that way too, but I don't know Latin. But mater is mother in Latin, and alma probably is virgin, right? Because it's alma is virgin in Hebrew. I suspect it's virgin in Latin as well, but I don't know that for a fact. Mater, pater, patros, ho, and so that's nominative singular. That's father, and of course it's masculine because of the article. And there's your genitive ablative ending on it. Latin pater. And padre, I think, would be Spanish. Padre, I think that would be Spanish. Right? Pornea. And this is a noun. There's nominative, and there's a ending for the genitive ablative, singular. Drop the alpha and put this in. There's your article, so it's feminine, and it's fornication. Telutao. I finished, I end something. And it is used, he died. It's used as a figure of speech for death sometimes. He died. His life ended. Okay. Okay, this is from the word that's found, that which is perfect in 1 Corinthians 13, the noun form of it's from that same root word. Okay. Do you have questions? I went down, I sent this to you today. Did you get the file today? Made some corrections in this. Found some typo errors. You may find some more, but I found 2 or 3. And so I corrected them. Mostly it was, the errors were, to a large extent, the diacritical markings weren't right. Most of the errors, that's what they were. Okay. And I went through and made a couple of corrections up here somewhere in some of this other, but I sent the file to you and it's got the corrections made. So you probably need to use that new file. Okay, not sent. Are there questions? Let's do text A next week and work our way through that. And we'll work down into text B. And some of this is right out of the Bible too, I believe. So you can probably find it once you get into it. I think this is in Acts 7 right here. And can't remember. I found most of this in Scripture. Okay. Right? Jesus was begotten, the one being begotten, being born in Bethlehem. Behold, Magi from wise men from Anatolia. Anatolia is east, right? Right on down. But yeah, you can work on that yourself.
I have a question.
Yes.
On Matar, mother, and he has down there Matros. And is Matros is used in the New Testament?
Which one?
That's the vocabulary.
Which one?
No, yeah, right. Yeah, right there. Matar, singular Matar. Okay, genitive and ablative. No, it's mu alpha.
You're talking about in the vocabulary?
In the vocabulary, yes, it's mu alpha.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, I was just wondering because I was trying to work some of these down here, and that's a problem in one of them down here somewhere. It just blew my mind to see that, and I said, well, it's supposed to be mother. How can it be Ross?
Is that better there?
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be then. Okay.
Right. I'm sorry I missed that. Was it down here in some of this somewhere?
Somewhere between here and there.
Corrected. It might have had it in there and I corrected it.
Yeah, you probably did. I don't see it. I thought I marked it because it just blew my mind when I was trying to work one of these down here, and but I don't see it. I might find it later. Again.
He's right there. There's one right there.
Yeah, that's it. That's it right there.
Right.
I think I changed mine because I saw that and I kept saying something is wrong there.
Okay, we got it corrected. I'll see
No one, I'm looking at the wrong place.
last tonight, okay?
Okay.
We had 2 corrections there. Thank you for pointing those out.
Well, I just thought it was me. So.
It's people that transcribed this book didn't do a very good job. They made several mistakes. I've tried to correct it. I've been through this 3 or 4 times. I keep correcting stuff and missing stuff, and I just read over it. Okay, it's my fault. I should have found that. All right, I had it corrected up here and had it right up here. Where was it? There. And it should have been an 8 here instead of an alpha right here as well, right here. Okay. I'll try to go back through and double check it. Any questions? Any other questions?
It's interesting that you said alma is virgin. In Spanish, it means soul.
I mean, soul.
Yeah.
Well, alma is virgin in Spanish, in Hebrew, and it may get a comma, maybe pronounced comma sometimes, but alma is usually how it's pronounced. That's the way I learned it. Okay. And so, and that's behold, a virgin shall be with child, and they shall call his name Emmanuel. Okay. And so his name is God with us, Jesus. Isaiah 7:14, and the word alma is found there. Okay. That's the word virgin. Okay. Any other questions? I'm going to save this file as PDF files before I forget it. Someone may use the PDF. It'll take a moment. And so what we'll do next week, we'll work on this text A and work some on text B if you wish. And we'll do that, and we'll get into next week after that, we'll get into lesson 39, getting the subjunctive mood. Right. Are there any questions now? Okay, you can go ahead and get out if you like. I'll get out as soon as this file is saved. I'll have it recording a little bit.
All right. I guess y'all have a good week.
Okay.
You too.
See you next Tuesday. There it is. Finally finished. So we'll get out.